horseshoes. There's so many. I think I'm going to run out eventually here soon, though, because we've been using so many in so many projects. I'm trying to think of a way to display my projects. I wish my place was a little bit bigger. Maybe eventually, if everything goes well, I can maybe move into a bigger place. When I think about moving to a bigger place, I get like anxiety, though. It's kind of weird. And not because it would mean more responsibility or any of that kind of stuff. I'd be pretty excited about that. The biggest thing that bothers me about potentially moving shops, which is nowhere near, I'm just spitballing here, is moving that sign. Because I didn't build it in a way that can be moved. Everything can be taken off and unscrewed. I filled a lot of the screw holes though, but I'm pretty sure I'd be able to get it down. But getting back up the way that I have it is what gives me the most anxiety. And so I always wonder if I ever decided to move, how I would do that. Because it won't come down in one piece, because it was put up in multiple pieces. All of the boards are individual pieces and whatnot. So who knows? Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. Welcome to a new week, week 32, which is pretty awesome. Last week we finished the Eagle, and I'm really happy with it. The most happy. It's been well received on the posts that I've made, and we still have the companion cube and the welcome sign, the horseshoe welcome sign, and we got a lot of these cool little projects just piling up, and I want to put them somewhere, but I don't know where. Like, I'm wondering if I just maybe clean out a little bit here, and then I can like maybe post them up here, but eventually I'm just going to run out of all the room. But yeah, so that's one of the things that's been on my mind this last day or so. It is Monday morning. I haven't really been able to do much. Yesterday I came in here and tinkered a little bit, and I got a couple of little projects to go through this week, I think. If you guys remember, a couple of videos ago I made that little triangle out of horseshoes, and then I've since extended it, and I've added 2 more shoes to each side just to give it a little bit more verticality. And it's just getting a little wide for me, because this was supposed to be a tree at some point in time. And so I'm trying to figure out how to make it still look like a tree, and then put a stand under it. But I gotta figure out the top, and then figure out what to add to the sides. Now I got these big size 3 shoes, and my thought here is just put them here, and then just kind of leave it. But it just seems like there's just so much space in this part here that I don't know if I can get my brain around just leaving it like that. But if we put the shoes like this, then that gives us that bottom all the way around, and then I can angle them a little bit just to give it a little bit more, not as uniform, give it a little bit more character. So that's one of the things that I would like to get worked on this week. So you just got to figure out how to do the top. I don't want to put like a star or any of that kind of stuff on it. I just want it to just be the tree, and then maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't even know if I'd paint it or any of that kind of stuff. Maybe. But the more shoes I add, the more expensive it is, right? Because the way I value some of these projects is I originally start with $10 per shoe, and that's it. If I add anything more than just shoes, then I take that into consideration. And this is just for me. This is just for me to realize how much effort and time and all that kind of stuff. That $10 per shoe includes pretty much everything, including like all of the consumables and like the welding wire and all of the stuff that I use, my time, the welding wire. There's more things. I'm blanking here right now. But Anyway, so that's how I baseline it. Thinking about going down to 8 just because I'm having more fun and I'm getting better and things are going faster. And I think 8 is a more suitable price per shoe. To buy used shoes like off marketplace, it's usually about $4 or $5 per shoe. And that's just me doing minimal research. But those are all non-clean, still have nails in them, still dirty, still like this, just kind of gnarly shoes. But most people don't take the nails out of the shoes either. Whereas Courtney and I take all of the nails out of our shoes right after we pull them off of a horse. Dog's barking. And then so like for the example, the horseshoe, there's 55 shoes on that guy. And then the wooden sign with the chain and all that kind of stuff, I would just add like $20 or whatever that would cost to make on the woodworking side of things. So, and I akin that to like the ribbon holders that we've made and that kind of stuff. It doesn't have a shoe on it, so it'd be cheaper. And it's just stained and painted with black letters on it. It's really just very simple. So 2025, I don't know, but nobody's really asked about that kind of stuff. So I haven't really sat down and thunk about it. But as I'm making stuff, I'm trying to figure out the way to make it the not cheapest, but most time and cost efficient way possible. So right now we already have 9 shoes on this guy. And if I add the 3 more shoes and then maybe 1 more pieces of shoes don't count as a full shoe, but 2 to 3 pieces counts. Either way, this is just for me to give a baseline of what I'm doing in here. So if I were to buy the shoes from somebody, like how much money am I spending on making these things, kind of is where I'm at. But I'm not actually, yeah, you get it. But if I were to start selling these things, then I would have a baseline to start with, or if somebody commissioned me for something, aside from the woodworking side, like if I had commissions like to make that memorial frame and some other stuff, then there's that, like I baseline that differently on materials and costs and that kind of stuff. And then with the rasps, I think that they're more expensive than shoes originally. But I think a used rasp would be cheaper. So we would start at like maybe that $8 per rasp mark, maybe $7. And then, so for something like the companion cube, I didn't actually count everything that I put on there. And I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I have never actually looked at it. And then the same thing with the eagle. No idea. The eagle, I think, if somebody wanted to purchase it, which I don't know if I would let them because I love it, I think I'd probably take the cost of all of the material based off of this baseline and then probably add more because of how much I love it and how much effort and time I put into designing it and making it look good. So if you're ever wondering about that kind of stuff, that's where I'm at with that. I don't know if it's overboard or I'm selling myself short or any of that kind of stuff, but that's where I'm at, as trying to make it an easy way to price what I'm doing without having to do a whole bunch of convoluted math. So I just put all of the price into the basic materials. And so it might seem high, but if I priced all the shoes at like the $5 or $6 mark, and then I started adding all my consumables onto it, then it just gets a little bit more convoluted and that kind of stuff. So I just want to keep things as simple as possible. So if you were ever wondering about how I think about these things, that's pretty much it. So anyway, so the tree, I want to figure out by the end of the week. I think we'll probably figure it out fairly quickly. I just got to think about it a little bit more. And then I think I'm going to make a couple snowmen. I had this idea. The original idea was to make actual spheres out of horseshoes and then put them together. And then I realized with that cost that average cost per shoe thing that I'm thinking about is like that's going to be a pretty expensive project for me to work on. And I said I didn't really want to do that this week, but we're going to do something like that anyway. But to not to start, just to start, you can see here that I've clamped a little circle thing onto the thing. We'll talk about that in a second. Right now, I've put these shoes in the way. We'll talk about those in a second. Right now, I've gotten these 4 shoes, and I've heated them up, and I've brushed them off. I haven't cleaned most of this stuff very well. I'm just going with the raw stuff. But what I want to do here is, let me come around, is I've put them in the forge, I've brushed them off, and then I've started to round them out a little bit more. If you can tell between most shoes, that's a little bit more round. And that didn't take very much, and I tried to make a matching one for this. And then we kind of want to put them together kind of like this for the base of our new snowman. And we want to put it here and then let it, well, they did stand on the bench. I remember that this, there we go. So then we'll have it so it can stand under its own power. We'll have to add something to the bottom because it will roll, but either way. And then we want to, I got just a tiny, smaller size shoe that will go on top here, and then another one to go on top here, and that will be our snowman. Is basically what I'm thinking about doing, and that should be quick and easy. I don't know about like a face or arms or any of that kind of stuff, or buttons, like you know, all the snowman stuff. I just want to get the frame done, and I think that will be quick and easy, so we can put that over there. And then when I get frustrated with what we're actually going to start with doing is we're going to, my grinder over there, the pieces I pieced together with another grinder. Like, so Courtney has the same size. That the grinder over there came from Courtney's truck. It was her old one, and I just strapped it to the bench over there. I'm pretty sure I've showed it before. I don't show it very often just because the angle of where it is and all that kind of stuff is rough. Anyway, so these are the guards that go around it, and with the wire wheel, these guards don't really fit over it, and these are different than that grinder's thing. So it's like a little like a mix and match kind of thing I have going over there. So these have just been sitting over there, and I've been trying to figure out how to do spheres. We've talked about this. I was going to do the concrete molds this week, and I do want to do it. I don't have space to keep them in here. If I make like 3 concrete molds or even 1 concrete mold, it's going to be fairly large, and it's heavy, and it's going to have to sit somewhere in the shop, and I'm just running out of places to keep things. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to do things that are a little bit more compact. And so what I've come up with a little bit is to take these guys. These are the guards from around the grinder that I haven't been using. I do have the plastic sheet that goes over and all that kind of stuff. And I figured I'm not going to heat a lot of these. I'm not going to heat any of these shoes up. I'm just gonna grind them a little bit to just kind of clean off a lot of the gunk. I'm going to take them over to the wire wheel. I'm going to clean them up, and then I'm just going to start putting them in here. And I figure we'll use these 3 for now because they're ready to go. If I take them and I put them one in the base, and then I start like just leaning them up against, as long as this stays centered, then I should get, I should be able to just start getting what's kind of sphere-like. And we'll have to, obviously there'll be gaps that need to be dealt with in certain ways. And so we could just, that's why I just grabbed a whole bunch of shoes off of one rung of the shoe rack. I just grabbed a whole bunch, and I don't know, maybe I'll overlap a couple. that kind of stuff. And then we'll just try to, and then I'll rotate it as we're building it. So then this shoe will become the center, and I'll just keep going until I can get it all together. And we'll just tack it all together, and then hopefully it becomes a sphere. At least something that I am okay with looking at. And then from there, I think instead of me trying to find a bigger circle, I can just raise the base of it up to a certain point. And then as long as there is an angle at some point, it will eventually turn into a sphere, because this is a perfect circle. I have measured it, and it's looking pretty good. So that's what I'm going to start with now. I'm just going to quickly, we'll see how long it takes, but I'm going to just clean up all these shoes, and then I'm just going to start tacking them together in this little sphere thing that we got going on, and or this little circle thing that we got going on. I haven't figured out what I would use to raise the base of it, but let's get the first little one done, and if we can make a couple different sizes of this thing, then it might work out. Well, it's not perfect. It's definitely got some lopsidedness to it, but it's solid. Obviously, I could use some touch-up welds here and there if it's going to support any kind of weight at all. Just do a couple here. Not good looking. A lot of these are just really gnarly, but hey, it's our first attempt at a ball. The only problem is I have this one spot here where it's just the two meet up at a weird angle. That shoe was really thin, so it just kind of melted. If we have it that way, then this thing could be in a different direction. I could also just take a small piece of shoe and close it off if it really bugs me too much. Wouldn't take too much to do that. But either way, it's circular. So I'll take that as a success. There's a dent in on that side. This shoe could have been brought out more. I didn't expect this to be foolproof, but I did like how it kind of helped me guide my way. So it gave me a better guide than what I was thinking, so that's good. Huh. That's actually kind of cool, hey? Like I said, I'm going to have to, because it will roll really easy, but there is a certain point where it will stand, and then I think I'll just add something to help that stand. And then we're going to figure out maybe some arms. That's like a detailed later job, I think. But we got the start of the snowman. We got the ball. We're making good progress. Making good progress. I don't know what I will use to do the features, but I might use some rasp pieces because we have so many of those. That would actually be a really good idea. And then figure out how to maybe get some eyes and a nose up in the center of the face there. I don't know about buttons because that will be difficult, but yeah, get a couple little arms. Well, that'd be nice. But yeah, we'll be back. Time for a break. Okay, so I've haven't figured out the bottom yet, like how I'm going to get it to stand. But what I've taken is one of those thin pieces of rasp that we had from when we were making the hearts, or the circles around the hearts for the companion cube, and I'm using this as a way to hold the pieces of the face and buttons and stuff. So yeah, what I've done, I've just stuck that guy on there, and what I've got over here is for the face. I got trying to reuse as much stuff as possible right now. So I've got all these the clips that we cut off of horseshoes very often. I'm going to use those for the eyes, but I'm really worried about actually welding them on, so we're going to do them first. And then I just have this tang of a rasp that I've just grinded smooth a little bit here and then brushed. That's really hot still. And then we're going to put the nose there. And then I've reforged, I just heated it up really quick. And I turned a rasp into just a little smile. So I'll show you, I'll try to get these on quick. Hopefully I don't burn the crap out of this. And we can potentially see what that's going to look like. It's got some powder under its nose. clean that up for him. Don't need people getting the wrong idea. What do you think? We have a snowman. We haven't figured out the arms yet. If we do arms, I've straightened this guy out over here. Well, some of it. And I think what I'm going to look at doing, I don't know how well it's going to work out, is we're going to try and get up just above the top of the second circle. Now they look a little stubby, but they're going to kind of come out. I might have to warm it up again and straighten it out a little bit. I want the curve, I want a little bit of a curve so it can come in behind the circle. And then they're going to come out like so. Maybe. We'll see. And then maybe we'll add a couple of like rasp ends to the end. That's a thought. That's a thought I have for this. But it might be too small. I have no idea. But that's the preliminary thought process, is to do that. And maybe we don't even put fingers on it. Maybe we just leave it so he's got little mittens. So he doesn't have the fingers. Oh, well, that's not good. I forgot to take the little rubber things off of the clamps when using them here. So this one started on fire and this one melted. But it should be fine. That's fine. And there we go. Let's see what we got here. See how this all looks. So I put a base on it too. Just a quick little rasp like I was talking about, just in the bottom. It's got a little bit of a wobble to it, but if I put it on here, it's a lot less wobbly. But yeah, so what I'm going to do with this guy now is we're going to brush him up pretty good. I'm going to take him some time. I'm going to take the softer brushes. And I'm just going to go over all of the little places that we put some weld and stuff really quick. And try to get in all the little nooks and crannies. And then we're going to paint him. So we are actually going to paint this guy. We haven't been painting much of our projects lately, so we're going to throw some paint on this. I have too much paint to keep warm in the winter. I have too much paint and glues and stuff in that cabinet, and until I figure out a way to keep that cabinet warm, I'm going to try to use up stuff so then I have less to keep warm in the winter, unless I need more and that kind of stuff. But oh, my ruler got some welding on it, some spatter. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the and I'm going to just, it's going to be boring and long, so I'll just do it on my own. But I'm going to tape off all of the pieces, the arms, the buttons, the mouth, the eyes, and the nose. And we're going to spray paint everything else white. And then I don't know, the plan originally I thought was to spray paint everything, all the little pieces black, except for the nose, obviously that's going to go orange. So what I'm going to do, I might actually keep the nose, I might spray paint the nose white as well first, so then the orange is a little bit more vibrant when we do spray paint it orange. So we'll cover everything that we want to be not white. So like, again, arms, buttons, mouth, eyes. And we'll paint everything white, and we'll let that fully dry. And then we'll paint, and then we'll cover everything around the face that we don't want to turn orange. And we'll paint this guy orange. And then we'll take all of the tape off, and we'll see if the darkness of just the metal is good enough, or if we should if we should paint this stuff black. I like the idea of having the steel iron look as the black parts, but we'll see. It might just look better black. Who knows? We'll see, because we're going to have to untape it all anyway, so we might as well see what it looks like first before we just make the decision to do that. So I'm going to do that after this guy. Like, the welds are still a little warm, so I'm not going to do it right away. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 3 shoes that we have for the tree on the tree. Okay. I know I'm like making things a little bit more difficult because I have this circle still sitting on here, and I'll talk about that in a second here. But oh, I can't even do it. Yeah. So there we go. It's a little, I don't know, it seems a little weird. It seems like this one's up higher than the other ones, which might be the case, but that's okay. And it's a thinner shoe, like this one's been thinned out by the horse that wore it quite a bit. But again, this is meant to kind of float in the air. And so I'm kind of hoping that we can make it look more tree-like by getting the top done and then figuring out how we want to put a base just to hold it up just a tiny bit. So that'll be next, but I'm going to head over and get this snowman started, taped and stuff, and then we'll come back, we'll look at the tree, and we'll look at doing the next ball. That's the goal. So yeah, give me a minute. Okay. Well, this one's not turning out so good. I've realized fairly early on, but I kept going anyway, that when I use smaller shoes and bigger shoes, this little circle that I'm building it out of, like you can see it, this shoe specifically is just kind of gnarly. Everything else is looking decent, but this one's knocked in a bunch. So I'm probably gonna have to rip that one off to try to get this ball done. He's definitely bigger than this guy. This guy fits right in here, so that's good. Some part of me wants me to just like freehand it, just hold it at an angle and then go. But I honestly feel like I'm just going to turn it. It's going to turn into like a weird triangle if I do that. So I still want to try to use this little circle thing I have clamped to the welding table. It's definitely some more welds I want to do on that guy. It tings and stuff when I put it down. Anyway, this one I'm trying to take care of that problem as I go. So I'm welding a couple more spots every time I go, which seems to be working out really, really well. This is nice and sturdy and strong. I'm sure I could just rip it apart if I wanted to, but I don't want to, so we're not going to do that. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the best way. I think I need bigger shoes for a little bit here because everything I have left is tiny little stuff. Like this is the biggest one I have. It's size 1. Everything else is zeros and double zeros. And I was going to start with this bar shoe, and then I didn't. So we still got the bar shoe to go. So I'm going to have to grab a bunch more shoes and clean up a bunch more shoes in order to finish this guy off. So I'm going to do that during the baseball game tonight. This part looks really good though. Frosty here. I'm going to have to touch up some of the white paint, but I got him here, and this orange came out really nice, but we're going to really hope that the orange didn't touch anything else that we didn't want it to, and that the paint doesn't come flying off as we peel this off. But oh yeah, there's some paint peel. So we'll have to touch it up because this back here, when I put it down, it rubbed on something before it was fully dry and just kind of messed me up. Yeah, so there's paint coming off. Okay. There he is in all of its glory. Also a snowman. That's actually not too bad. I kind of like it. So yeah, I'm going to touch up the white paint on the top around the head there. And then I'll show you here really quick a couple of problems I have. So you can see around the head that some of the paint has flaked off with the tape. The tape has pulled off some of the paint. I probably didn't let it dry enough before I put the tape on. I didn't wait 24 hours. I only waited like 6. So that's probably the problem. There's a couple of problems elsewhere, but those aren't important. And then you can see what I mean by the back looks kind of weird, is that I only taped up what was in line with the shoe because I thought it was going to look like the shoe kept going. It kind of does, but the back is not what you're looking at anyway. And then on the bottom here, you can see this is where I laid it down. So I'm going to put some tape on that, or paint on that. And then the side of the white bar has been oranged. So we're going to do that too. So I'm going to take care of that right away here, just so this is a done guy. And then we'll move on to the Christmas tree a little bit. Now this Christmas tree, it looks a little different than it did last time we saw him. And the reason for that is I did not like when I added the 3 big shoes around the bottom. I kept staring at it. It was weird looking. I didn't like it. And then I came to the conclusion that these guys were all too wide out, and so the tree just kept going too wide out. No matter what I wanted to add to it, it just kept going down. And so I actually ended up ripping all 3 pieces apart and putting them back together in a shorter or less angled. And I think it looks a lot better now. And we still just have to figure out how we're going to get the rest of this tree done. I don't know, now that we have them so in close together, I kind of like maybe just leaving it or adding a couple things here and there, maybe a little piece of something that just kind of goes in between here really quick. That might be fun. And then we have to do the tree trunk and the tree top. And part of that is going to be, I think, these 3 rafts that I heated up. I heated up 3 more rasps. And what I'm going to do with these guys is I'm just going to cut the tangs off, and I'm going to leave them as long as possible. And then I'm going to weld them in a triangle where they're just touching, like this. And then that's going to sit in the center of this. And then we'll probably put a base on it. We'll put a base on it from there, and then figure out how we're going to bring the tree up to the top of the rasps, and then connect everything up this way. I don't know how we're going to connect it yet, but that hopefully will come to me after I get the triangle of rasps done. So we'll come back when I figure this out, and when the snowman's touched up, and after I've gotten some more shoes brushed up for the ball. I'm really upset about this part here. Maybe I should just cut it off and redo that section. Who knows? Anyway, we'll be back with more crafts. Not perfect, but you get where it's going. Yeah, so this week got away from me crazy amounts. So I didn't get a lot of what I wanted done, but we did get a good amount of stuff done. So we'll just talk about it quick, and then, yeah, today's Friday, so this is the end, but the week's over, but a new one starts tomorrow, so we can definitely try. If you see me look up like this, it's because the baseball game's on behind you. But anyway, we'll talk first. We'll obviously do the snowman that you guys have already seen. I fixed up some of the issues. There's no spatter on that or peel on the head anymore. I accidentally, when I was fixing it, got some white on a couple of the pieces here, and I don't seem to care. It kind of feels like there's snow falling on his shoulders, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, so that guy's done. and I'm pretty happy with him. The features, the facial features and the buttons and stuff, that took the longest. So if I can find an easier way to do it, that's where this guy comes in. So I've come up with a little bit of a different design. Same amount of shoes, but this guy is just 3 stacked on top of each other. These are Heinz shoes. We got a little Olaf looking thing here going on. But I figured if I could add some features to this guy, it'd be all right. I'd probably do a little bit different than this guy. So like maybe some rasped arms instead of shoe arms and stuff like that. The head's smaller, so I could probably fit some wider pieces in there to make it easier to do. But that's what I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at that this weekend and see if I can make that guy look pretty good. I don't know if I'm going to paint all of them, but yeah, it's got a little bit of a wobble in it, but it stands up. It's good. It doesn't want to tip too much forward, and as I add stuff to it, because it has a little lean to it, it will sturdy itself. And then we'll talk about the big one, or not the big one, but the one that took the most time. I got a little ahead of myself without turning the camera on today. I keep doing that, but as you can see, I put the trunk in, and I added a top. And the top, I just threw some shoes onto the top, just like that. There's a little overhang there. I haven't decided. I still have to go back in and weld some of this because that's not a good sturdy weld. Those are just tacked on there. You can see like some of them are pretty gnarly. That one's pretty rough. But yeah. And then for to set the trunk in there, I did the same thing as I did at the bottom. So the bottom I used rasped tangs. I just cut them, or they were already cut because we have lots in the box. I welded both sides of these. I still have to go back and fix a couple of them. Like there's a lot of little touch-ups on this one that I have to do before we do anything else with it. But I welded both sides, and then I used the grinder and I grinded this down to flat again. And then I did the same thing, if you could see in here, this guy. It's the same thing, but we have them on the edges, on the corners. And then I just cut them to the size I wanted them to, just so that sat in there. I had it all the way up to the top, and it looked weird and stupid, and it didn't leave enough at the bottom. So that was my solution. Kind of looked like branches, which is good. And I think what I'm going to do with the tree, is I'm going to throw some paint on it because I want to see what it'll look like with paint. And I'm just going to throw some green on it, and I'm just going to try to not get the green on the trunk and the little branches in there. So I'll probably throw some tape on all that kind of stuff. If some of it happens, it happens. It's not a big deal. But I'm going to just try to block it off and just get the shoes on the outside a little green. If you remember, we got this green that we've been using for the stems of the pumpkins that we were making. I haven't got anybody that wanted any more. I think we made 8 in total for people. So I shouldn't do that. But so yeah, I got lots of this green paint left because it was only for the stems, so we'll use that. It's just Hunt Club Green, whatever that means. Anyway, and then with the balls, there's a decision that has to be made with these, and I don't know what that decision is. So we still got the small one that we started with that we did really, really well. I like it. It's got a little problem here and there, but other than that, it's ball shaped, and that's good enough for me for the most part. So there, and then we got this guy that you could see I didn't finish the bottom of. And I didn't finish it on purpose, and also because I was getting frustrated with it. One of the reasons I didn't finish it was that it could stand by itself pretty good on the ground. I could just tack a couple of things on just to make sure it's extra stable, and then that could be a bottom. Or if and when we make the bigger sphere, if we wanted to stack these into a snowman, this could still sit on the bigger sphere without necessarily having to be done. So this guy specifically doesn't have to get finished because it can be the bottom ball or it can be the middle ball and still be fine. I wish I would have thought about that, not finishing it portion for the small guy, because then I could have really just had this small guy kind of figure out a way to make it perfect here and there and whatever. But once it's welded on, it's not going to be a problem. Like I can put a little thing in here to make sure it stays up and whatnot. But either way, if you look at it here, it looks like a little BB-8 if you're a Star Wars fan. But it could also be just a 2-ball snowman. But there's also another option of building a smaller ball for the top, and then this becomes our 3-ball snowman. So those are a lot of options that I'm going to sit and think about and weigh. I don't know if a smaller ball is functionally okay to do, because shoes aren't, I'd have to actually bend the shoes into, like, round them out here and there, just to get them to be curvature, and that's not the point of what I'm trying to do here. I might do that for when we make bigger sculptures, like if we ever decide to make like a big, like, horse or something, like if you look them up, like horseshoe horse sculptures or whatever, they're pretty insane. And I'm gearing up to try to do those kinds of things. That's going to take hundreds of horseshoes to do and much time to do. And so if we ever start like a big project, it will be a multi-week project, at least for the first one. I don't know how fast I could make one of those things without any practice. So anyway, so this is where we're at for this week. We just got some decor items, and the tree I'm mostly happy with. The snowman I'm very happy with. The secondary snowman I'm sure I could be happy with. One of the things I was thinking about is making like a wooden plank insert. That would be pretty cool, and then I could just paint on the facial features and stuff. I don't know if I'd be any good at that, but it could be something. But this is just a blank slate right now, and I could do whatever I want with it, which is pretty cool. And then the balls and stuff like that as well. I'd have to figure out how to do a snowman face on that, and get it to go pretty good. Like, we got some pretty big holes in here that aren't horseshoes, but yeah, either way, it looks pretty good. Everything looks great. So thanks for watching this week. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I know it's not as exciting as the eagle finishing last week, but like I said, I wanted to take a step back from doing something that takes that much brain power. Hopefully next week I have a little bit more time. In a couple weeks coming up, in September, the week of September 12th, it's Canadian Thanksgiving week. I'm actually going away for a week. I'll be going across the country again to Nova Scotia to visit Courtney's grandparents. So probably won't be a video that week unless I pre-make something, which I don't know, you know. But yeah, I like just working and then putting out the video. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see where I'm at there. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Hopefully, we'll probably continue to do the core items. Hopefully, I have some new ideas. And then I have these finished up so I can show you. Have a good week.